questions. So, your reason for going into business and a little bit about your business and how you grow.
So, my name is Brad Leyden, and I am president and owner of Revolution Boutique. It started a short 8 years ago when my wife at the time, ex-wife now, I like to say the business is the best thing that came out of the marriage, but she turned to me and despite having absolutely no retail background and no business being in retail, she said to me, who also had no retail background, we should open up a retail store. And despite my concerns, I agreed to it. And so 6 weeks later, we opened Revolution Boutique, which the initial premise for the store was actually the men's store. So we opened almost 8 years ago. 50% of the store was women's, 50% was men's. I was the sole employee and 70% shareholder, and it was a complete disaster. So I flailed about for a year in there, and spent most of my time actually down the sidewalk at the shoe store at the corner. Their staff and myself would sit out. We spent the summer drinking wine at a house. So needless to say, my heart and soul was not into it and had no idea what we were doing. And I just say that to kind of form some foundation of contrast in terms of where we are today, which is the company's entirely mine. I'm happily divorced. We have 2 stores. We'll do over a couple $1 million this year in sales, and it's just been an amazing ride. So yeah, that's the wonderful story of retail for sure.
Well, you didn't quit. Bob's an attorney.
So I have a very unique job description because I'm an attorney who sells pajamas. Our business is Nine Pajamas, and we're based actually in the same area as Brad. We're in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. We currently have 5 stores, but we started out with 1 little store. As an attorney, I spent 17 years at a big downtown law firm and decided I'd had enough of that and opened up my own little office. And at the same time, this little pajama store opened up next door. And I thought, that doesn't make any sense, but we'll see what happens with that. And they had a little bit of success, but early on they decided they were going to close it down. And my oldest daughter, Robyn, who's sitting at the table over here, was looking to figure out her life's journey, and we thought, this could be something interesting for us. So we started with 1 little 800 square foot store. We moved that store within a year when we called the bluff of a greedy landlord, and within a couple of years we opened up our 2nd store, and another couple of years we opened up our 3rd, and we're now up to 5. And we actually opened up our last store just this past May, and it took us 10 days. From keys to opening the doors, we were open in 10 days.
So was that an iterative process or an innovative process?
It's both. It's a little bit of both.
So we'll stay with you, Bob. How have you seen your business change in the last 3 years, and how have you adapted?
It's really our growth that's really defined the last 3 years. We've gone in the last 3 years. We've gone from 3 stores to 5 stores. We early on determined, as an attorney or lawyer, I understand the value of experts. And so very early on, we got experts involved in our business. Some of you may have heard of Whiz Bang Retail. We got involved with them back in 2013. They helped us tremendously. In 2013, we also engaged Management One.
I want to give a shout out to Dan Holman, who's the affiliate for both Dan and Brad.
Yeah. We engaged with Dan back in 2013 as well. And as we opened up our 3rd store, we really felt that we had we were in over our heads. And we joined, Whiz Bang had a mastermind group that we joined. And one of the first things that came out of that group was Traction, that Mark talked about. And it's a book, if you haven't seen it, by Gino Wickman, and a follow-up book called Grit. And it really did transform our business as well. It put accountability charts in place, and we built a structure, and we had meetings, and we solved issues. And so those were the things early on that sort of gave us some foundations for that. And so our growth really now is based on documenting everything. Sorry, I should have mentioned that I'm the CEO, president and CEO, but I work with my 3 daughters and my wife as well. All of us are heavily involved in the business, to the extent, frankly, that the girls actually run day-to-day operations. I don't really run day-to-day operations anymore. And so we, sorry, I lost that train of thought now. Our growth. We document everything. I tell them if there is anything that we need to do twice, it needs to be documented and put down on paper so that we don't have to think about it again. And so we have procedures after procedures after procedures. It might have something to do with being an attorney. I don't know.
So Brad, what are some of the things that have changed in your business in the last 3 years, and how have you adapted?
I bet we have less paperwork involved. So I mean, ultimately what happened was the 3-year mark, roughly 3 years ago from today, was roughly when everything changed for my business. Ultimately, after the first year, I drank enough wine from solo cups. Everything was looking pretty dismal. We staffed the store. I left the business entirely and went into car sales, actually. I learned how to be a salesman, which was proved crucial going forward for my business. So to this day, we still do ongoing sales training, and teaching my staff. At the end of the day, cashiers and security guards just don't get it done for my brick and mortar store. I have to have salespeople on the floor and creating that experience for the customer that results in product moving out the door. So I came back to the business as kind of a perfect storm where we're from, oil is our main economic kind of thing for the province, and things weren't going so well. Oil hit $50 a barrel, the dealership died. There was no money in that anymore. The store had kind of scratched and clawed its way to sort of a break-even sort of situation on its own, virtually, without any real effort from myself or my wife. And the divorce was pending, and the question was what to do with the store. And she just wanted to close it. She was done with the headache, but there was something in my gut was saying, no, don't do it. There's something there. So I made her an offer she couldn't refuse, and ultimately I became sole owner of Revolution Boutique. And then it was at that point that I made the decision and took this kind of leap of faith, so to speak, where I left the dealership and I called my manager that night. I think I might have had a couple cocktails at that point just to kind of digest what I was about to do. And I called my manager at the time and I said, Stephanie, I said, I'm coming to work tomorrow. And the best thing she ever said to me was, she said, you know what, Brad? She said, I think your business is ready for you. And that was it. I rolled up my sleeves, I packed my lunch, I got to work. And not so much working in the business, but working on my business, What I realized is that, you have to take time from working in your business to work on your business, because there's so many things that we come up with, and promotions and ideas and strategizing that you just, when you work in the business, you don't have the opportunity to do. So that was a crucial thing. Was I had no desire to really be on the sales floor at all and take care of that end of it. I definitely fell in love with the retail aspect, the forensic science part of retail. So that combined with I just got savvy with social media. It's still a huge driving force in my business. We spend thousands of dollars on social media advertising. It drives the traffic. Started hiring salespeople rather than cashiers and security guards. Hooked up with Dan Holman with Canadian Retail Solutions, Management One. And that, inventory management is one of the biggest components of what makes for successful retail. You know, I hear a lot in my business about, oh, this store, you know, they're so good and they're so successful and they did $1 million in sales, but you know, it's not the top line that matters, it's the one further down the income statement that matters. And we do a good job of that. And yeah, I mean, it's just been, it's been incredible, so yeah, thank you.
So Canadians have some particular challenges, and I'd like you both to speak to some of those challenges and how you faced them and how you've overcome some of them. So we get one.
One of the big challenges that we have is the minimum wage going up in Canada. So we are now in Alberta at $15 an hour, and other provinces are catching up really quickly. So there are some of the states in the U.S. that are seeing some of those increases, but not, I think, to the extent that we are. And it's a huge issue. There are things that we need to do to combat those things. But you know, we 3 years ago we were at $11 an hour, and we're now at $15 an hour. So we've had to become, I would say, innovative in terms of having to deal with those types of things. We've had to really dig down and find goods that are margin goods. We've had to raise our prices. We've had to look at deep looks at our pricing and try and raise our prices. And frankly, we've had to let some staff go, which not staff go, but we've reduced hours, which kind of goes against the grain of creating this minimum wage, a higher minimum wage, so they can make more money. But as a business owner, we still have to get to the bottom line, as Brad said, and in some cases that has meant that we've had to reduce hours. Probably the biggest thing we've done, though, in terms of the minimum wage issue for us is that we've started doing some private labeling. So we've now created a line that we curate called Scarlet LA, which is named after my granddaughter. The little one here is the second granddaughter. She doesn't have a line yet, but the first granddaughter has a line, and that's become very successful for us. In just over a year, has become one of our top selling brands. But it's also part of our story, right? We're creating that story these days, and it's so important to create that story. So, my wife and I get to stay in the background, and our story is about three sisters and comfort and Cloud 9. And so adding now our granddaughter into that story is an important piece and is helping us in that journey.
It creates the authenticity.
Exactly. Yeah, there's an authenticity piece to it for sure. So,
Brad?
I have a little bit of a different take on with respect to pay. In terms of the industry, we certainly have the highest pay that's out there, without question. I think I realized at some point how important people are to my business. Laura is, sorry. I get emotional when I talk about it because they're that close to my heart. They are the backbone of my business, and I just feel like I can't expect those people to give up 8 hours of their day, 5 or 6 days a week, and not have them live a comfortable life. I don't think that's fair. So the minimum wage hasn't affected us. My top people make well beyond that. I look at everything from a return on investment perspective. So whether it's advertising, it costs X amount of dollars. Payroll is my, next to cost of goods sold, is my biggest expense. But the return on it is exponential. So I don't get too caught up in that. I feel like people are worth what they're worth. Yeah, so it hasn't been so much of an issue for us. good people are hard to find, and once you find them, they're even harder to keep. So we put it out there for them for sure. That's not an issue. Being in Canada, the one struggle we have is and we talk about this amongst ourselves all the time, is just with respect to fashion and trends. In Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, we're not necessarily considered one of the fashion hubs. I remember when we first started buying, and we went to the appointment, and we were looking at all this denim, and we said, well, do you have any, where do we find true religion? And the Vancouver rep looked at us like we were from outer space. They were like, true religion? That hasn't been around for 2 or 3 years now. We're like, oh, it's huge in Alberta. Everybody's wearing true religion. So, yeah, right? Could have got a good deal on it. So we learned very quickly that, just because Europe or Montreal or even Vancouver says, hey, you got to get this is the hottest new thing, we know that I refer to as Sally. My staff will know that whenever I refer to Sally, it's my generic term for our client. Sally's everywhere. I'll say, what, I don't think Sally's ready for that yet. So often, and we laugh about it, honestly, even the cold shoulder. Okay, is that even around still? We have people that are finally coming into the store now. It's like, hey, do you have anything with a cold shoulder? It's like, gosh, no, that was 3 seasons ago. So we have to be very cautious where we live about, it's the newest and greatest and latest thing, everyone's doing it. Oftentimes we will sit a season out even on it. Sally has to see it at Costco a couple times. No, you're not. When I think of Canada and where we're at, that's probably our biggest challenge, is just that.
Sally.
Cheers to Sally's.
We have Sally's in Minnesota.
Okay, so share some of the risky moves you've made or are making, and what drives your decision-making process.
So the risky moves, probably the riskiest moves we've made is opening stores. We've got to the point now where we can open stores, but we always couldn't do that. And really what drives our decisions is data. I'm a numbers guy. So we crunch the numbers, we do break-even analysis, we use M1 projections, every piece of data that I can get. I speak to the landlords, I get their data, how many customers are coming into that mall or this complex. And, I'm comparing that data to other complexes. And, is this a good decision for us? And how can I negotiate a lease with a particular landlord? They'll typically say, well, you have to sign a 5 or 10 year lease, and that's the end of the story. Well, it's not true. I have 2 10-year leases because I thought they were great deals. I also have 2 1-year leases because I wanted to try out. I wanted to mitigate that risk. It's based on information and based on data. We crunch a lot of data, and a lot of it comes through M1, frankly, and they help us crunch just a little bit more than a little bit.
With same as Bob, I think just opening more locations. We at a time and place, economically speaking, in our region where probably most retailers, if they looked at my business, would say, gosh, you got a good thing going, just hang on tight to that and don't screw it up. But instead we're looking at other opportunities and opening up second stores, and actually we're super excited to be actually looking at a third opportunity right now this is a new one for us and I might need your help with this, where we're actually looking at an acquisition of an established store that's just kind of at the point where I think she's just ready to retire. And it's a huge opportunity for us, and it's a good fit and be an easy transition. So typically I probably wouldn't look at something like that, but in this case we are. So we've got that on the table right now, and we'll be pursuing that as soon as we get back to Edmonton. So very risky, for sure. Certainly, as Bob said, there's things that you can do to mitigate the risk, but ultimately, you know, you're making decisions that could potentially bring down the whole house of cards, and that's a scary thought. But for us, it's you know, we just have so much fun with it. I mean, it's you know, the St. Albert store, we opened that location just more out of the customers pretty much demanded it. You know, we had ladies coming, making the trip from the other side of Edmonton to our first store, and ultimately they said that's enough. We want our own store, and that's ultimately what they got. So it's more out of just kind of spreading the love. And we want everyone to share the experience. So yeah, there'll probably be a few more still to come.
Well, I think what's key here is that they put themselves in, both Bob and Brad put their companies in a position to capture market share and take advantage of opportunities as they came about. Because they weren't struggling to just make their own business work. Their businesses were working. And I think when you can put yourself in that kind of a position, new projects and opportunities become something you can consider.
I think it's also important to note, and I think it's risky, and I believe in this. Our economy in Alberta is terrible, and has been for over 3 years now. As Brad mentioned, we're oil-based, and our economy has been really bad. And that's when I feel is the time to grow, right? That puts you in a position to, when things do turn around, to really see the escalation in your business. Putting those things in place while things are cheaper, right? You can get some better lease rates, you can negotiate some better things, but you have to have confidence in who you are and what you do to be able to take those steps.
Right, I think that it goes back to mindset, if I can say that. You know, here are two retailers in Canada, and they didn't even talk about the duty and the you know, the difficulty, the challenges of bringing goods in and customs, and they don't have all the same flexibilities that U.S. retailers have. They also had a challenging economy with the oil, and yet they both had incredible success over the last 3 years. And a lot of it, and if you can tell anything from this conversation, it's how they think about their business and approach it. They play offense, they don't play defense, and they put themselves in a position to win. So I think it's a good thing to remember. I tend to look at stores. Doug Hilfiger's got a store in this town of 400 people, and when he started with them, did 400,000, and I think they do $1.4 million today. And Neil's got a client that sells better men's clothes in a town of 30,000, and they do, I think, close to $3 million. They're highly profitable companies because their mindset is that they believe in who they are and what they do, and they go out and do business every day. So when I talked about where you need to be in 20 years, you need to be right up here. You really need to think about the culture of your people, the things that you do. And these two gentlemen, their businesses, and we don't have a woman up here this time. We didn't have a woman last time. So we brought some people going.
I'm a lot like a girl. I get it.
Oh, well, that's your feminine side. Okay, so are there any questions for these two gentlemen? Unbelievable. You've got them.
Oh, we got one. We got a question.
Do you do your own buying, or do you have somebody on that like
Does he do his own buying?
We do. My oldest daughter does our buying, so yeah, we do that.
And it's Laura and I, so two of us. Yeah.
What percent of your business is in-store from walk-in traffic, and what percent is online or social media?
What percentage is social media and online versus in-store?
So that's, let me do some quick math. 100% is brick and mortar in store. We don't sell online.
Do you do any social media sales at all? Like if someone contacts you on Instagram and says, "I love this sweater,"
We will make it work. We will somehow. I mean, such an antiquated way of doing it. It's usually like, "What's your phone number?" and we'll give you a call and we'll work this out. You know what? It's a great question. And certainly we've looked at the opportunity, for sure. In fact, we're still a little bit on the fence about the opportunity. I think the way we run the stores, though, is we buy so wide and not deep that by the time it makes it on social media, by the time it makes it to the website, by the time Sally, because Sally's everywhere, by the time Sally sees it and says, "Oh gosh, you know what, I think I might click on that and maybe purchase that for myself," it's gone. and something new. It's so fresh in the stores. We've done a great job of training our customer that if she doesn't come every week, she misses a bunch of great things.
Yep.
And Sally hates that. Sally doesn't want to miss anything.
That's true.
So
Scarcity.
absolutely. So because we are so focused on the brick and mortar success equation for retail, the e-commerce one doesn't necessarily fit with our model, and so for that reason, we haven't done it yet. We focus on that experience, and that's what, there's so many different directions you can go, but at the end of the day, I think you focus on what you do best, and what we do best is brick and retail in-store experience, and we just focus on that, and I think probably ultimately that's how it will stay.
Can I
You know
just
what?
ask you a
I
quick
just want to build on that comment for a minute. One of the things that Starbucks found out after they put their mobile app in is that the average ticket per customer went down significantly. So when people had to wait in line and were waiting for things, they bought more. So the whole idea is bringing, when you start shipping goods out, the counter argument is when you ship things out to the customer, you don't get them in the store. And so your average unit per sale is going to go down. So it's something to consider. You could put a lot of other stuff in the box, obviously, but I think the results, if you look at Starbucks results, it was significantly less. But they created a monster they couldn't get out. I'm sorry, you're going to follow up.
I was just gonna ask, are you in a high tourist area where there's just a ton of foot traffic? Or is
No,
it
no,
all
no.
repeat destination driven?
Our initial store.
It could be a different, I don't know. I've never been there.
We are, our first location is very destination oriented. It's absolutely, even foot traffic, just with neighboring businesses, just the way the complex is set up, and it's very recessed from the main boulevards. It is not, foot traffic is we drive traffic to those stores. And then that's done through social media and email marketing for the most part. Yeah. The new location is definitely a little more foot traffic. But then again, it's about, the one thing that we're really focusing on right now out there is we've got the traffic. We've probably got more traffic in that new store than we even have in the original store. What we don't have is the relationships and the conversions that we need. So that's really what we're focused on right now is, Sally comes in, that's great, but if we don't show Sally a good time and take a couple $100 from
She's
her
not coming back.
and send her home in a couple of great dresses, then it's all for naught,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So we sell online a lot.
We do. Yeah, we sell online. About 5% of our business is online.
Like website based?
Website based,
Okay.
yes. We don't. We do sell through social media, but we don't track it. So that's interesting that you bring that up. So it may be something we need to be. I need to be
We just
adding.
started
How'd you
tracking
miss
it.
that?
We just started tracking it,
Is
and
what
it's
you do
been
on your website crossover
very
inventory?
interesting.
It's crossover, yes, and it comes out of one of our stores.
Yeah,
so
that's
why
what I'm
we've never.
hearing, yeah.
That's why we've never tracked it. But that's a
Yeah.
very interesting concept that we may have to start.
And that was one of our biggest challenges was my concern was how do we correlate, what's in the e-commerce store on the website with what's on hand in our brick and mortar. So we went out, but ultimately we found this great platform that connects the two and it makes it virtually seamless. So as things sell on the e-commerce or conversely in the brick and mortar inventory, they adjust one another. And I think it updates like every couple minutes or whatever, so it's fantastic. And it's $8,000 US to implement it and problem solved.
What
But
platform is that? Limelight or Genesis?
yeah,
What POS are
we use Retail Pro.
they?
RDI is
Oh,
the
yeah.
platform that integrates the two.
All right, and they're affiliates of ours.
They are.
Yeah, it's,
That's why I said you should know this.
Kurt Bacon. Yeah, he does a great job.
We use
RDI.
we use Springboard as our POS system and integrated with BigCommerce is our web store.
And Riggs, who do you integrate with? Just so we can plug everybody.
All of the above.
Okay.
Shopify, BigCommerce, WooCommerce,
Okay.
Amazon.
Yeah, Riggs and Springboard are both enterprise or cloud-based platforms. Okay, any other questions? All right, well, I want to thank you both. You did a great job. And